Hey everyone, and welcome to another episode of Dummies on the Hardwood. I just only got Benny with me today. Isaac and Jay could not make it. Isaac, get better. Jay, wish you the best. Hope you're doing well with your new job.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Shout out to Bobby and Isaac holding it down last week. Appreciate y'all. Appreciate the support. Appreciate the love. Thank you for following us and subscribing to us on YouTube, Spotify, and we are up on Apple Podcasts.
Today we're just a couple dummies talking hoops, giving our unfiltered thoughts and opinions on topics and storylines surrounding the NBA. Today we got some pretty good content. We're going to talk about Bronny James, who's primed for a rookie breakout season.
I don't know about all that.
Who's going to win the Rookie of the Year. And we finally will talk about who we think our Rookie of the Year is. So we're going to start off first with Bronny James. So Bronny James, as you guys know, has made a debut with the Los Angeles Lakers, and he's had some ups and downs, but, you know, I think Bronny James, for the most part, he's still finding his niche around the league. JJ Redick had a quote the other day. He's had some really good days in August and September. He's had 3 really good days this week. We're really happy with his progress. James finished the game earlier this week with 2 points and 3 blocks in 16 minutes, meaning his first preseason debut. Redick added that James could find a role as a disruptive defender. He can do some things defensively at his size that are really unique, and I think can turn into a really disruptive defender that manifested itself. On the offensive end, he's still figuring out who he is. You agree or disagree with Coach Redick?
Well, just let me take a quick background check. So I will say he did show up a little bit in the summer league. However, do I think he's going to find a place in this league? No. I mean, and I'll tell y'all why. The only reason why Bronny James is relevant is because of his dad. I mean, if you looked at his stats for summer in just when he was at USC, he was averaging 4 points per game. Take away the cardiac arrest. I'm just saying, take that away. All right. I'm sure it had something to do with it, but take away the cardiac arrest situation. Now, if I gave you those stats right now and I said, hey, this guy's going to be going for the draft, what are you saying? What are you saying?
I wouldn't take him.
Exactly. See, you're not going to take him. So do I think Bronny's going to find a place in this league? I'm sure he will, but it's going to take some time. Now, he only got drafted because of LeBron James' namesake. And I don't care what anybody says, man. Laker Nation is probably going to hate me for it, but I don't care. Y'all just took Bronny just to please LeBron, and that's just the facts, right? But however, I will say this on this front. I've seen instances and flashes of Bronny just playing really good defense. All right, I think he is going to be a good defender. He's undersized. He's only 6'2", right? But there's a couple possessions where I did see him do some chase down blocks, right? But he was not effective at all. Ineffective on the offensive end.
Defensively, I think he can have his calling card. I do think JJ Redick has some merit in what he's saying for Bronny James. I think he is still going to find out who he is on the offensive end, but defensively, I think that's his calling card. If Bronny James can hold on to his niche as a defender in this league, you know, I think he will find a really good spot in this league. But especially with the Lakers, you know.
I mean, his size is just a little underwhelming, though. 6'2", 6'3". I mean,
he could guard. Yeah, I get it. If I were to compare him, he'd probably be like a little Avery Bradley.
He could be, yeah, because Avery Bradley very similar. I mean, the only thing is Avery Bradley can shoot the 3 ball.
Yeah, and that's going to take some time with Bronny. He's going to develop that 3-point shot.
All right, he averaged points. He averaged less than a point in the preseason. I just want to make that clear.
I get that. No, we're talking about the summer league.
Okay, we're talking about summer league, but we're also got to talk about what he did in the preseason too. We can't forget about what he did in the preseason.
Yeah,
he averaged less than a point per game in the preseason.
The preseason's still going on, though.
Okay, but right now, has he proved himself?
He's still got a long ways to prove. He still has a long ways to prove.
So yes or no? Yes or no?
No.
Okay, there's my point. He hasn't proven himself. Only because he's LeBron James' son.
And I'm not disagreeing you with that. All I'm saying is that I think JJ Redick has some merit to what he said.
I mean, I agree he has some merit, but at the end of the day, I just don't see. Like I said, Bronny is not someone who I'm like, if I see those stats and you take away the name, I'm like, oh man, I'm not gonna draft that dude.
100% agree.
Who the hell is this dude? Really?
100% agree.
Yeah, it's just like, no, I wouldn't take Bronny. But I mean, yes, I will give him credit. He is going to be, I do see him probably being a disruptive defender. However, right now, I'm still not buying with the Bronny James hype. I'm not buying it because whatever JJ Redick said talking about he going to play opening night, that shit is definitely not going to happen. It sure as hell won't happen.
It might.
Who they playing opening night? The Wolves?
They play the Wolves.
Okay, so you telling me he's going to guard Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards
He's going to get
him.
cooked by Anthony Edwards. That's a fact. That's a fact. That's a fact.
Come on, man. Seriously.
I'm not denying that. But, I think we got to give Bronny James some slack. I think he receives too much of it because he's LeBron James's son. But I think at the end of the day, if Bronny James can hone in on his defensive identity, I think that he will make himself into a league. Now, I think that what he needs to definitely improve on, though, is his jump shooting. His three-point shot is not up to par, but I do think he could be a disruptive defender. Similar, I would consider his archetype as Avery Bradley. I think he can be, because Avery Bradley, for those of hoopers who don't know, is about the same size as Bronny James, about 6'2". But Avery Bradley can shoot the three ball. Bronny James is going to take some time to develop that three-point shot. But once he gets a three-point shot down and he could defend at that high level, I think Bronny James is going to be a high-level 3-and-D player. So JJ Redick I agree with JJ Redick. I think he can be a disruptive defender, and he also needs some time to work on the offensive end.
Look, like I said, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I think Bronny's calling card would probably be more defense. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's about all I have to say on Bronny, man. I mean, look, I think he's a bright young kid. He's got good feature heads. Unfortunately, he had that cardiac arrest problem. But unfortunately, all these pundits and all these lame wannabe fans who don't know NBA keep hyping him up and saying he's going to be the next big thing since sliced cake. I don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I don't want to hear that either. But, you got to also admit, it was a very wholesome moment seeing LeBron James and Bronny James take the floor together during their first preseason game.
I agree, but it's just
watching that game. I was kind of like, wow.
Look, I agree, but it's just another fairy tale for what the NBA wants because that's what's going to drive ratings up.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I mean, you're right at the end of the day, but the bottom line is it's just that Bronny James is in this league, and what he's going to have to do is right now he's just going to have to work his ass in this league, and I do think I think he'll put in the work.
Yeah, I definitely want to see him to put in a little work. He just can't give no handouts. But I mean, I think
he's not going to get no handouts.
I think he's going to work hard. I really do think so. I give him a lot of shit. At the end of the day, I'm sure he's a really good kid. He works his tail off. At the end of the day, he only got in because of LeBron James's name. If that wasn't his name, he wouldn't be even relevant. That's just the facts. We all know that.
Anyways, I mean, we talked about that. Now we're gonna hop on over to the rookie of the year, actually. The rookie of the year. So NBA came out with their polls, and they have Reed Shepherd with 50%, Zach Edey 30% to win, and Stephon Castle of the San Antonio Spurs 13%. Who do you think is going to win rookie of the year?
Are we just going off those top three?
We could go off anywhere you like.
I mean, look, if you're asking me personally, I didn't get a chance to watch the whole Wolves and Sixers play, but Rob Dillingham looks really good.
He did
in Minnesota. He looks really, really good.
I watched his first game against the Lakers, and he put up 16 points.
Yeah,
and he can shoot the ball. I question though his efficiency, but again that was his first game. But yeah, Rob Dillingham. I agree with
Definitely. The only thing that bothers me with Reed Shepherd is, he did show up in the summer league. I can see his stats right here. He put up 24 rebounds, 5 assists, almost 3 steals, and over a block a game. I mean, he did show up in the summer league, but in his debut, he only put up 4 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 blocks, and a steal in the loss to Utah. However, I'm sure that will change. But obviously, you're going up against NBA ready athletes when we talk about summer league versus grown men when we go to the NBA. So we got to distinguish that difference. I mean, he's balling out against these dudes right now in the summer league who was, just like fighting for a roster, who were competing, right? And then he goes out to the league and he goes up against like bigger pros, against like the Jazz. He's going up against like a Jordan Clarkson. He's going up against like a Lauri Markkanen, everybody from Utah. It's going to be a little bit of a difference. You know what I mean? The game's going to be a little bit more different for him. It's going to be much more faster. I think if he just adjusts his game, because I feel like looking at these stats, I feel like he was doing a little too much, and I think all rookies suffer from that. It's just not being able to slow down and let the game come to them. You know what I mean?
I just think he has right now some balanced stats. I mean, he's put up 20 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, about three steals and a block per game. So he's definitely diversified his game. I think he's my rookie of the year candidate at this moment. I think Zach Edey right now, what he's doing out there in Memphis, he's doing pretty good. He's finding that chemistry with Ja. Stephon Castle, he had some couple nice highlight plays a few days ago for the Spurs. So, shout out to Stephon Castle. The UConn Huskies holding it down out there.
I mean, we just can't sleep on Rob Dillingham. I would definitely say in my order, I'd like Rob Dillingham just because I think he looks smooth. But we also can't forget about I'm going on a sleeper here. You know what I mean? Don't sleep on Mr. Bub Carrington of the Washington Wizards.
I've seen Bub Carrington play. How's he doing?
He's pretty nice. He's a pretty good athlete. I think that he's going to transition well. He came from the University of Pittsburgh. I forget how many points he averaged, like 15, 16 a game, whatever. But Bub Carrington, you can't sleep on him. Don't sleep on those Wizards, man. Zachary Rashard, I mean, he showed up against game 1 against Atlanta. Again, it's a toss-up. At the end of the day, it's one game. I'm sure he'll develop. He put up 16 in his first game, so I think he might find his footing. Is he gonna wow me? No, he's not gonna wow me, but I need to see more of his game in order to come up with some. But based off these stats, I mean, you can definitely argue that Reed Sheppard is definitely gonna be the rookie of the year, but you can't sleep on Mr. Rob Dillingham.
Rob Dillingham is one of those sleeper picks. That's a good one. That's a good point. Shout out for the Lakers. He put up 16 points in his debut. He hit, I think, 4 3-balls against the Lakers.
Yeah.
He played pretty well. Speaking of players who are playing pretty well, Jalen Williams is playing pretty well, would you say?
Yeah, that dude, oof, that's a bad man.
Primed for a breakout season. NBA polls, the early vote getters right now would be Jalen Williams, Evan Mobley, and John Morant tied for 10%. Victor Wembanyama tied for 10% right now too. Paolo and Cade and Brandon Miller are all tied for 5. So, Benny, who do you think is primed for a breakout season?
Obviously, like I said, I think Jalen Williams, to me, he looks really nice. I had him at fantasy, by the way. This dude is so consistent. He averaged, I believe, 19 points per game last year. About 5-6 assists, I think. I can't remember his exact stats off the top of my head. But the point is this dude was putting up numbers. I know he shot 40% from 3. I'll tell you that much. I think personally, if you ask me who's going to break out, I think J-Dub's going to break out because he, Isaac bashed me for it. But I think he serves better as the point guard for the Oklahoma City Thunder, bringing down the ball, setting up SGA, Chet, and now you got Isaiah Hartenstein. You can throw some lobs with him, right? I think that lineup and Lou Dort, defending the paint, defend the perimeter. I think Jalen Williams is definitely going to be someone who's going to break out. He averaged 19 last year. I'm going to say he's averaging 22, 23.
Yeah,
easily.
Realistic.
SGA is going to do his thing. He's going to do his thing. I mean, and then you got Chet Holmgren probably playing third fiddle. I think that's how I would look at it. SGA, J-Dub, and Chet.
Yeah,
that's how I would look at it.
That's the 3. My issue with putting Jalen Williams at the 1 is I think SGA is more. If you put SGA at the 2, I think SGA is the type of player that needs to have the ball in his hands, just to be effective. Jalen Williams, you could slide him off the ball and he can play off the ball, but you need to have SGA, who's a certified point guard, who can hold down the fort and create shots for Jalen Williams, Chet Holmgren, Isaiah Hartenstein, Alex Caruso. So, that's my issue with Jalen Williams sliding over because Jalen Williams to me he plays well off the ball. SGA is going to need the ball in his hands to be effective.
But before we forget, players prime for a breakout season. Now I know I'm gonna get a lot of shit for this, and I know Bobby's gonna probably look at me stupid, right? And you probably go laugh at me. Isaac was sure as hell laugh at me. You know someone who else I think is gonna be primed for a breakout?
Who?
Mr. Zach LaVine of the Bulls. Zach LaVine of the Chicago Bulls. I think he's gonna definitely show up. I know you got some shit to say, man. I know you got some shit to say. But hear me out. Look, I know he's a people question his work ethic. He's a trade asset. He's a trade piece. Yada yada yada. All this BS, whatever. All this whatnot. Hey, it's new year, new start. I think Zach LaVine is gonna come out with a vengeance. Right? I think, personally, this dude could be putting up 23 a game. 23 a game. He's the number one option out in Chicago. Right? I mean, you do have Ayo Dosunmu, Nikola Vucevic, and Lonzo Ball's coming back. Lonzo Ball going to be setting this boy up. So don't sleep on Zach LaVine. I personally think Zach LaVine going to ball out. I think he's going to do just fine. I think, like I said, 23.
I think Zach LaVine's going to find himself a trade in mid-season.
He probably will be traded, but he's going to play himself into another team's roster. That's all I got to say.
Zach LaVine, to me, I really like him. He reminds me of the rich man's version of Jalen Green. Jalen Green is the poor man's version of Zach LaVine. Very consistent, very streaky shooting. But when they're cold, they are cold.
I said I'm not going to disagree with you on that, but
I'm not
sold on Zach LaVine.
I ain't sold.
You can't sleep on him, bro.
I'm sleeping hard on him. That AC is freezing cold in my room, dude.
You better take those covers off. I'm just saying,
you ain't gonna take those covers off, man. I'm gonna keep those covers on. Actually, man, I'm not. I mean, Zach LaVine to me, his thing is just health. Consistency. That's the thing.
I understand consistency, but
so I'm not sold on him.
But also, too, we're also forgetting about someone too who we talked about earlier. It's Lonzo Ball. I know I just said that earlier, right? Players prime for a breakout season. I mean, we're not talking about he's going to put up astronomical numbers. He's not going to put up 10 assists a game.
By the way, he's a Bulls fan.
Yeah, shout out to Mr. Noah. But like I said, I think that Lonzo Ball is someone we got to look out for, man. I mean, when he was with the Bulls, he did help facilitate that offense, and he's a better defender.
He's the reason why the Bulls are relevant. Exactly. If we're being real, that's why the Bulls.
Exactly.
The Bulls are relevant because they had Zach LaVine. Excuse me. They had Lonzo Ball, who gave you a little bit of everything. But when he went down, you saw the Bulls went down too, and they went down.
That's what I'm saying. So let's not sleep on the Chicago Bulls. Let's not sleep on them.
I'm sleeping on them.
I mean, are they going to be a playing team? Maybe.
No, they're not. Shut. You better not. No, not even close.
They would.
Not even close.
I think they're going to be a playing team.
No.
A fringe eighth. Shit, they'll beat the Heat. They can beat the Heat. They will beat.
They're probably going to be a 9 team.
Well, like I said,
they're not even going to probably be in the play.
They'll beat the Heat.
Whatever.
They'll beat the Heat. Come on now. The East is Well, I mean, look. After we go Boston, we go Philly, we go New York, we go Cleveland, we go Indiana.
Anyways, I ain't going down that road with Zach LaVine. You know how I feel about Zach LaVine. The other player that I'm looking forward to see break out is Brandon Miller.
Yes,
Brandon Miller. I mean, they put him at the top. He's tied for 5th right now. Who's primed for a breakout season, but Brandon Miller for me, he took a leap forward in the second half of the season.
Yep.
Took him a little bit to find his footing, but I think with the Charlotte Hornets direction, if I'm the Charlotte Hornets, I'm moving on from LaMelo Ball and I'm gonna build around Brandon Miller because Brandon Miller is showing that he is the face of the franchise for that Charlotte Hornet team.
Well, but who's gonna run the show in Charlotte? Who's their point guard situation?
Well, I mean, who are you gonna build around though? LaMelo Ball or Brandon Miller? Because LaMelo Ball right now, to me, he's not.
Why not you build some solid pieces around LaMelo Ball?
But who's gonna go to Charlotte? Let's be real. Who's going to go to Charlotte?
Look, I mean, I'm sure. I don't even know their fucking roster.
You have there's Nick Richards. There's Mark Williams.
Ship one of them and get some pieces back.
Bridges.
Miles Bridges. Look, see, this is where we start off with Miles Bridges. You trade Miles Bridges, I promise you get some pieces for him.
Yeah.
You get some pieces for him. Get some younger pieces back, and then start building around him. I wouldn't give up on LaMelo Ball. I ain't giving up on LaMelo Ball in Charlotte.
My issue with LaMelo Ball is just inefficiency and shot selection.
Yeah, that is what it is. But I mean, he gives us something that the Charlotte Hornets don't have, which is actual relevance, because he's the reason why they're on ESPN highlights. You know what I mean? I'm just saying. If it wasn't for him, the Charlotte Hornets wouldn't be relevant.
Yeah, I mean, I agree, but you know, if I'm looking at the Charlotte Hornets as a whole, as a team, they really need to go forward in the direction of really just, all right, LaMelo Ball is not working out. LaMelo Ball, we thought he was going to lead us, but he hasn't.
It's still working out.
It's still that he's still got. I think you got to trade. I think you got to trade him, get some pieces back.
No one wants the bloated contract.
Yeah, no one wants that bloated contract. But But if you're going to go out in Charlotte and take those bloated ass L's to teams out east, no. I think Brandon Miller is, for me at least, he's the player whom I'm going to keep my eye on, because nobody really is going to be talking about Brandon Miller. They're going to be talking about Jalen Williams, and they're going to be talking about Cade Cunningham.
And Wemby.
They're going to talk about Wemby.
Wait,
and
nobody
Paolo.
talks about Cade Cunningham because he's in Detroit.
Detroit, the purgatory of the
NBA.
NBA.
Purgatory NBA, man. Hey, if you ever want to revive your career, go to play for the Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, you got Tobias Harris out there at 30.
Tim Hardaway Jr.
Tim Hardaway. I don't know what the fuck's going on out there in Detroit, but you know, if you're an NBA team and you're trying to contend, you want a contender, go out there and go pick yourself up maybe a Tim Hardaway Jr. or a Tobias Harris.
Yeah, it's a fire sale out there.
It's a fire sale.
I mean, completely. I mean, look, Cade Cunningham, yes, you want to keep him, and Jaden Ivey. There's your backcourt of the future.
And Jalen Duren. And trade Isaiah Stewart.
Get rid of Isaiah Stewart. I love him. I love his energy. I love his motor. But he doesn't belong in Detroit anymore. It's clogged up down there, up there in Detroit.
You know who I'm also excited to see for a prime breakout season? Ja Morant.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to seeing Ja Morant perform this season.
I'm really excited to see
healthy Memphis Grizzlies team.
I still don't think they are going to be a top 5 team.
You don't think so?
No. I think they're going to be 6 or 7 seed.
But who's your top 5?
Top 5? Yeah. We already been over this, but you know, I'm going in no particular order, right? I know Isaac's not going to like this. All right. But here we go. Wolves, Thunder, Suns. Who else are we rocking with? I mean, Wolves, Thunder, Suns. We could say, man, who else am I missing?
Wolves, Thunder, Suns.
Those are the top 3. I mean, everybody else.
Lakers.
Well, again,
Mavericks.
The Mavericks are just a fairy tale. Look, here's what I'm saying. After those 3 teams, it can go anywhere. It can go anywhere. Am I right or am I wrong?
What about Phoenix?
Phoenix is 3.
What about the Lakers?
Phoenix is better than Dallas.
What about the Lakers?
Phoenix is better than the Lakers.
Okay, that's fair.
So, I would say Wolves, Thunder, Suns. Wolves, Thunder, Suns, Lakers, and then I've got the Mavericks right there, and then I got the Grizzlies at 6, and then I got the Pels. I mean, shit. Am I missing someone out there? No, I'm not missing anybody out there. I ain't missing anyone out there. Spurs, toss up. But like I said before, I'm not really sold on. Like I said, we've been over this discussion, so it doesn't need to go in depth. Isaac already knows. The Mavs, I'm not sold on them. They're just a fairy tale team. They just got hot during the regular season. Sorry, I missed last week's episode, but Isaac, that's the roast you're gonna get.
It's the truth too. It's
Mavs are a fairy tale team.
Anyways, I'm gonna stop that Mavs bash because we got some people getting booty tickled because we said the Mavs are not a real team.
I know, man. That was funny.
Threat. I mean, they're not a real threat. That was funny. We love the comments, by the way.
Yeah,
but
we appreciate the support.
But I had to comment that because that was funny.
Yeah,
that was pretty funny.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and discredit what the Mavs did. What they did last year was incredible. You know, but it almost reminds you of what Miami did when they beat Boston in 7 games. They beat Boston, right? And then you got delusional Heat fans saying, "Oh, we could beat the Nuggets." In what world are you gonna beat the Cold Jokic?
Ain't no way you're gonna beat the Nuggets.
Yeah, this is just NBA talk right now. But I mean, like, we just knew it wasn't gonna happen.
Yeah, that's just the reality of it. We have to call a spade a spade. We got to call it for what it is.
You know, both teams lost, you know.
We're not bashing them, but we're just calling reality for what it is. It's the truth.
And it's also,
and you can't, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. It's the truth.
we just like to poke fun at our fans, but we appreciate the support.
Yeah, continue that support.
You know, and anyway, kind of piggybacking off of like, you know, something that we want to talk about is, you know, segue is new teams, new faces, new teams. Who do you think is going to thrive well with their new team?
CP3 and Wemby. I think that's gonna be the matchup or the duo that I'm looking at.
Okay.
Because CP3 has thrown really some. He can lob the ball pretty good. Okay, let's keep it real.
He's thrown up some good lobs in his career.
So I think that with CP3 out there with Wemby, who's 7'4", I think no defense out there can guard against that lob because Wemby's going to jump right over you.
Absolutely.
Right through you too. So and CP3 and Wemby, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Spurs are one of those sneak-in play-in teams.
The Wolves are going to frustrate some people. I think the Spurs are going to be frustrating.
The Spurs are going to be
frustrating. There's not going to be any easy out. Like, look, like Keldon Johnson, Devin Vassell, Wembanyama, CP3 brings that leadership. Stephon Castle, Trey Jones. I mean, damn, just listen
that
to
Spurs team is
that Spurs team is sneaky good. Nice.
I think the West is one of those conferences where every team 1 through 14 or 1 through 15, they're pretty good, except the Utah Jazz and the Portland Trail Blazers.
Yeah, nobody gives a fuck.
But 1 through 13, every one of those teams, it's going to be a loaded West. But CP3 and Wemby are my sneak-in play-in teams, and they might upset people.
I think they could upset people. For me personally, I think, you know, we got to look at the PG trade to the Sixers and with Cat. I mean, PG in his debut put up 23 against the Wolves.
He did a really good job.
He did. He looked smooth. He looked like he didn't skip a beat.
Yep.
That man is looking like a brand new man. He's looking like Philadelphia P. That's who he is, Philadelphia P.
I don't think PG is. I'm just not. I mean, it's a great acquisition for Philly, but Tyrese Maxey said the other day he was hyping up his teammate. Do you remember what he said?
No, what did he say?
He said, "Jeez, I thought you did." He said he was hyping up PG the other day, and I was listening. I was like, "Yeah, I'm excited to hear that, but." Are you gonna perform is PG gonna perform in the playoffs?
Yeah, I get that. Everybody bashes him for that. Man.
That's the thing. Like, I like Paul George, but we know his playoff history. History.
For the time being, he's Philadelphia P, Philly P. We call him Philly P in the regular season. Then we'll know what happens, how he shows up in the playoffs.
I mean,
he could be playoff P or Philly P. You get Philly P, he put up 23, 24 a game in the regular season. But you get playoff P, you're going to put up 10 points in the playoffs.
Or we could just call him George Paul. I mean, take your pick.
George Paul, I mean, we could do that too.
But I mean, that's my thing with PG. I'm not dissing him as a player. I just think that we just know his playoff history. We know Joel Embiid's playoff history. They flounder in the playoffs. Philadelphia, to me, are one of those pretender teams. They're really pretenders. Until PG and Joel Embiid can get through the playoffs, get through the second, or get at least to the conference finals and win, then I'm like, all right, I respect the Sixers. But for me right now, if you ask me who's coming out the East as painful as I have to say, it's Boston. Boston or New York.
Well, also, too, here's what I was going to say, and this is going to be a good analogy. All right? So, obviously, we know the Atlantic Division owns the Eastern Conference, right? The top three teams on the Atlantic Division. Right? So, you have Boston, Philly, and you have New York. Philly reminds me of that redheaded stepchild, right? The one that gets no attention. They're really good, but they don't get no attention. That's who the Sixers remind me of, you know, because I think they can't beat Boston. They haven't. Joel Embiid struggles against the Celtics, but also they're not equipped enough to beat Philly. Yeah. I think they have pieces to beat Philly, but they're not equipped to beat Philly. So, you know what I mean? So when you look at it from this perspective, right, Philadelphia is a team, like, by no means, you shouldn't sleep on them. You don't sleep on them.
Don't sleep on Philly.
Don't sleep on Milwaukee, because Milwaukee isn't relevant at all in this conversation, right? They're a top 4 team, 5 even if we're going to go there, right? But I mean, Philadelphia is one of those teams where it's just like, if they could just put it together, I mean, they retooled. They came ready. I mean, they re-signed Oubre.
Yep, they re-signed Oubre.
They signed Eric Gordon. Who else did they sign? I mean, I'm missing a few names out here, but I mean, they retooled.
They retooled and they brought back some players.
Kyle Lowry still?
Kyle Lowry, and they brought PG. But you know, based on the East, we know how the East is now. The East is no cakewalk. The top 3 teams, I think we could solidify them. We could say Boston. We could say New York,
and then Philly.
And then Philly. Those are the top 3. Outside of that, Milwaukee, not so much.
And even with the addition of Cat on players who go ball on players who going to break out on their new team, I think the addition of Cat is like a really good addition, right? As much as I was saying, like, is it going to move the needle? Yeah, it moves the needle, but I'm not really scared. I'm still not scared of New York.
Yeah, because that bench is underwhelming.
Yeah, I mean, they're so top heavy.
They're really top heavy.
Yeah, I mean, but here's what I will say: they've got wings out there that could defend. Hart, Anunoby, Bridges.
Yep.
And that's all to cover Jalen Brunson and their center Cat. And even Cat can hold it down. So outside after Jalen Brunson, the next 4 are going to be really good or really solid defenders. Right. It's going to be interesting to see opening night who's going to show up, Boston or Phil or New York. So I would be interested to see how that matchup goes. But I think Cat going to do good. He got 24 and 10 in his first game as a New York Knick.
Yep.
So I think he's going to thrive just well. I think it's going to be I don't think there's going to be any issues, any transition period. My thing with the Knicks is this. Come playoff time, we all know Thibodeau's history. He'll run his players into the ground. He'll go like 7, sometimes 6-man rotation. He'll go 6-man rotation, man. You are not getting rest. That's why all those players have those injuries. Why? Because it's overuse injuries, man. You got to give your players some rest. Who are you going to rely on? Miles McBride? I mean, he's good. He's great. I mean, who else they got? I mean, I can't even name anybody off that Knicks bench that's going to wow me. I can't.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But,
again, we'll see. Time will tell. I'm excited to see this upcoming season. I think some players are going to have an impact on their new teams, but I'm excited to see CP3 and Wemby.
Yeah, man. I mean, season's coming close. We're almost there.
Almost there. Before we close out today's episode, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Not much, but, continue to support us. Like, follow, subscribe to us on YouTube. We appreciate all the comments. YouTube, we're on Spotify, we're on Instagram, Dummies on the Hardwood, TikTok, and now we are up on Apple Podcasts. Please listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts.
We do appreciate the support.
Yes, we appreciate the love and support. Continue to comment, like, follow, subscribe. We appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Dummies on the Hardwood. Next week, hopefully, Isaac can come back and feel better next week. Next week, we're going to talk about the upcoming season, as next Tuesday, October 22nd, opening night.
I'm excited.
Opening night. We got the New York Knicks taking on the Boston Celtics, and then we got the T-Wolves and Anthony Edwards going down in L.A. to face LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. So next week, we're going to have a nice discussion about that. Until then, thank you for listening. Again, please like, subscribe on Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok. We appreciate all the support. Do you have any final shout-outs before we call it?
Shout out to our fans. Y'all the best. We appreciate y'all.
Shout out to Isaac. Shout out to Jay. Hope you guys doing well. On that note, we're out.